Hi, it's me, number 47. Today, we're going to look at some Olmec Jade figurines that may have been used to protect a soul during the perilous journey through the underworld. Let's get into it. So for today's episode, we're going to be looking at the Olmec cultures of ancient Mesoamerica. Now they lived in what is now southern Mexico and parts of Central America around 1200 BCE, so that's about 3,200 years ago. And they were known for their colossal stone heads. They were one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica. But before the Zapotic culture came into power in the Valley of Mexico, they created some amazing art and artifacts, especially out of jade, which was prized by many later cultures as a material that could house the soul or even the heart of a person after death. We can see this in the Aztec and Mayan cultures. But the Olmecs seem to have also believed that jade could contain the soul. And in today's video, we're going to look at some figurines that may have protected the soul on its way to the afterlife. So here are two examples of Olmec Jade figurines. They were crafted between 900 and 400 BCE, so they're about 2,400 years old. They were found in the Colombian Museum of Art in Mexico City. This is called an altarpiece. It was found in the grave of a child, and we believe that these figures may have protected the soul of the child who was buried there. This one figure is about 8 inches tall. The other is about 11 inches. Now, when we look at these figures, what do we see? Well, first of all, we see something that looks like a bird. We see what looks like a crocodile. So why would they have put a crocodile in a burial with a child? Now, sometimes crocodiles in Mesoamerican cultures are seen as guardians of the underworld. Sometimes they're seen as guides through the underworld. The jaguar is often seen as a guide through the underworld, but the crocodile is seen as a guardian, keeping people from entering if they're not supposed to be there. So they're very protective. And since this is a burial with a child, we might believe that the child's soul needed protection from these crocodiles or these birds as it went to the afterlife. We know that Olmec culture placed great importance on ritualistic burials. They were known to wrap their dead in cotton and place them in stone coffins. They would place jade objects within the coffin, placing them on top of the skeleton. Jade, for them, was an important material because it could contain these souls. So they would put their hearts in jade containers. They would put their remains in jade containers. And this seems to be one of those cases where a jade figurine would have been placed inside the coffin with the body, so that once the body decayed, all that was left was the jade statue that contained the soul. These statues are in the shape of fantastic creatures. They're obviously not just a human face. They have these large eyes that are bulging out, and they have these beaks, and they have these adornments on their heads. These feathers, and they have these crocodile or alligator-like jaws and teeth. So they're not human, they're not animals, they're some sort of hybrid creature. And this is very common in these pre-Columbian cultures. You have these zoomorphic humanoids. They're not quite humans, they're not quite animals. They have human characteristics, but they also have animal characteristics. And many times, they represent gods or they represent supernatural beings. Another example of this kind of sculpture is the famous Were-Jaguar figurine. This is another zoomorphic figure. It has a crocodile's head, has the body of a jaguar. It has some kind of loincloth around its hips, and it has a lot of jewelry on. It has earrings, it has a nose ornament, it has bracelets, and it has this wonderful headdress. So again, we have these pre-Columbian cultures creating these supernatural beings that are neither man nor beast. But they have characteristics of both, and this figurine is similar in a way to the Were-Jaguar figurine. It has this great big nose ornament. Just like the Were-Jaguar figurine, it has this headdress. We don't see the body, right? We only see the upper part of this individual. And then we see the lower part. And if you look closely, we can see that these lips are actually fangs. So this mouth, this open mouth, is actually a crocodile's mouth. If we didn't see the rest of the head, we would think that this is a crocodile, but it's not. Again, we have this fantastic being that's a mix between a man and a crocodile or a bird, maybe. This style of sculpture is sometimes called a danzante sculpture, This is a type of sculpture that depicts these humanoids dancing. We see them dancing in different postures. They're sometimes shown kneeling like this, holding a flower in their hands. Or they're shown standing up straight, and they're shown with their arms raised. We have lots of these sculptures in different museums throughout the world, and they depict these supernatural beings. And I think that that's what these little guys are. They're supernatural beings that are there to help guide the soul, that are there to protect the soul. They're not quite human, but they do have human characteristics. And we know that the Olmec culture believed that they had souls. And so maybe they needed help getting through the underworld. Maybe they needed protection from the beasts of the underworld. And so these figures were placed in tombs to help guide the deceased to the afterlife. Now, these Olmec sculptures are made out of jade. They're made out of this beautiful green material. But the Olmec culture was also known for working with basalt. Basalt is a dark-colored volcanic rock that is very difficult to work with. But the Olmec were able to carve some incredible sculptures out of it. One of the most famous examples of Olmec sculpture is the basalt heads. There are 18 of these that we know of, and they weigh several tons each. And they're not just heads, they have torsos. They're huge, they're amazing, and they were probably placed at the entrance to a sacred precinct, right? They were there to guard the entrance. They were there to protect the entrance. And so they were placed outside, exposed to the elements, and yet they still stand today. So they're about 3,000 years old, and they've survived for all this time. The Olmec were just incredible artists, but unfortunately, we don't have many pieces that have survived to this day. Most of their sculptures have been destroyed or they've eroded away because they were placed outside. And so these jades are really special because they're so rare. There aren't very many of them. We have a few figurines here and there. But they're so rare because jade was such a prized material. It was very expensive to acquire. It was only the elite that could afford to have things carved out of jade. But the Olmec culture just loved jade. They loved working with it. And I think that it was because they believed that it could contain the soul. It could keep the soul safe. It could protect the soul. If you look at these little figurines, I mean, look at how detailed they are. Look at these lips. Look at this nose. Look at this headdress. This is just incredible craftsmanship. These guys were just masters of sculpture. Unfortunately, they didn't leave us a lot of pieces that have survived. But luckily, we have a few, and I think they're just amazing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share your thoughts below. What do you think these figurines were used for? What do you think they represent? Also, remember to subscribe.